Hey everybody, Matt Michaels here with Sin City Steve on the Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting. Welcome to Three Count. DJ Impact is celebrating his birthday today, so he is not with us, but he will be back next week. And Simon Street is out on assignment. So we're about to start Three Count here. Three interesting topics that we're going to kind of banter a little bit about. And we're going to start it off here this week, kind of following up. Last week, we had a little special on Vince McMahon returning. Well, here from Wrestling Inc., we have Nick Khan addresses Vince McMahon's return to WWE. WWE going through a whirlwind of changes right now in front of everyone's eyes. We know the whole story about Vince coming back, etc. Uh, but Nick Khan actually is the first board member officially to become the first to speak out and make public comments about the return of Vince McMahon and the pending sale of WWE, creating some fascinating headlines with his comments. Not only did he defend the comeback of the 40-year WWE boss, but Khan also mentioned why it wasn't insane to hear about his return, given how well he knows the 77-year-old, despite all the investigations he's been under. Quote, when you're on the inside, you sort of see things that might be coming and know what might be coming. My thought has always been there's only one boss at WWE, and it ain't me, Khan said during an interview with the Bill Simmons podcast. Vince is obviously the founder, the creator of the company, and also the controlling shareholder. That's not a work term, that's a legal term of art. I think it was always my point of view, Stephanie's point of view, at some point he would come back. I was surprised the moment that Vince retired, but once I thought about it for a couple of days, it made sense to me. I wouldn't say it caught me off guard because, again, we were on the inside, sort of feeling a bit of the pressure that was going on. So it certainly seemed, again, the right thing at the right time. Uh, they talk a little bit about Vince again stepping away. Um, and he gets a little bit into the sale. Uh Khan also stated that McMahon had zero influence on WWE throughout his time away, but did reveal he made it a point, as did others, to see the former chairman once a month while he was away. I think those things are important, and it's no different, in my opinion, than when other mutual friends of ours who have gone through hard times professionally, Khan said, that's when they sort of need to hear from folks most, and that they, haven't forgotten about them and you're appreciative of them and all those things. I think in staying in contact that way, which was mostly social and personable, there was never a moment of do it this way or do it that way. It just never happened. In closing, the CEO mentioned he's not shocked Vince came back to the company, saying that's Vince. Anyone who believed this was permanent doesn't know him. That was never going to happen, but I'm appreciative of the fact that he gave it the 5, 6 months, let the dust settle a little bit, and then coming back in the way he's coming back. Uh wow. Um so in hearing Nick Khan address this a little bit, Steve, what sticks out to you as Nick being a business person who is saying, hey, we have this relationship, we know him, we're on the inside, but yet at the same time, there's no real statement of, we're glad that Vince is back. This is absolutely going to help propel the sale of the company or something along those lines. So,
Yep.
what are your thoughts about what he has to say about Vince's return?
The thing that's extremely striking to me is, as you mentioned, there's no conversation of selling the company or even preparing for the sale of the company. It's just like as if, oh, well, Vince is back and we're just going to run things, as we did beforehand. There's no mention of anything that any sort of remorse or any kind of, oh, things are going to be different now or anything of that nature. It doesn't have any sort of limitations on, what his behavior is going to be. For all we know, and based on the comments mentioned here, it sounds like as if nothing happened. Literally, he was just given, he may as well have just been given a leave of absence and then just picked right back up. And it's like as if all of those allegations are just swept under the rug. And strangely enough, I mentioned exactly this, that this shit would happen. Vince McMahon operates on a completely different set of rules than you, me, or 99% of the people listening to this recording right now, or listening to us live, if you're listening to us live. But the fact is, yeah, as soon as people seem to understand that there are two separate sets of rules, the better off that we're going to be. And it's unfortunate that it's the way that it is, but we need to, there needs to be some sort of internal look from WWE. But again, that's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be any indication for anybody that had any sort of issue with the way that Vince had treated anybody. And it's really unfortunate because he's not just back to sell the company. Based on this interview, he's back until he dies.
Right. No, there's no doubt about it. Also, this week, Wall Street Journal reported that Vince did settle for multi-million dollars with the ex-woman referee from the 80s.
Of course he did.
So, my first thought was, he came back to the company and he settled once he was back with the company.
Mm-hmm.
Whose money was used in the settlement?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're just reallocating those funds.
Right. So that,
but the SEC is crooked as fuck, so they're not going to do anything about it either. So don't get me started on them.
Sell to the Saudis, and I bet you there's a huge investigation on Vince and where that money went.
Easier said than done, man. You got Gary Gensler pulling the strings.
Well, what I'm saying though is that right now there isn't a reason for the U.S. government to even think about it, right? Because it is business as usual. But involve Saudi Arabia in buying the company. Oh, now all of a sudden we're going to take a look at this, blah, blah, blah. But the interesting thing out of all this that he said was he used the fucking term swept under the rug. Or the dust, I'm sorry, the dust settling down, which is essentially the same. Sweep it on the rug. Let the dust settle.
Oh, yeah. Let it settle and then whoop.
And I think that's an amazing thing to say, that, hey, we basically allowed him to just disappear. And then when he was ready to come back, we knew. Now, I still wonder if Stephanie actually knew. Did she know? Did she know that this was going to be a thing, that he was going to come back? Or was she caught off guard by it? And being a woman, was she, not happy that he did all this, stuff to at least get attention in a negative light against these women?
The other thing that's really kind of interesting with that, and you bring up Stephanie's side of things. Obviously, when she was let go the first time, or left the company the first time, there was the leak talk of how she sucked at her job. Gee, I wonder where that shit came from. Okay. And then it makes sense. If you look at the entire timeline, Vince comes back, she leaves immediately. Yep. Obviously, if you compare what she tweeted out, she mentioned, her father and using endearing terms towards Vince when she left the company the first time. The second time, it was all business.
Yep.
No mentioning of daddy. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think that, it's the old, Vince getting what he really truly wants in the end. But what did he have to give up? Everything.
And it also goes to show that Nick Khan is a seasoned business guy, because everything he said was alluding to but not actually saying. So, therefore, we have no idea what his real opinions or thoughts are.
Exactly.
So,
Nor
that's
can
what
we
we
do
see with.
anything about it. He
Yeah.
point blank
Well,
said, we can't do anything about it.
yep.
You know?
And and the people who started that investigation, the, I believe that most of those people who were doing the investigations were gone. So
The two people that were leading the investigation,
yeah,
as soon as Vince came back, he canned them.
yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. Strange.
go figure. Yeah. All right, we're gonna jump to a story here that took everyone by surprise this week, and that, of course, is Jay Briscoe's tragic passing. This is from Wrestling Observer. Um, Wrestling community pays tribute to Jay Briscoe. Tributes from all around the pro wrestling community have poured in following the untimely death of, and Steve, is it Jermaine Paw? How do you say it? Pugh.
I believe
I've
it's
never,
Jamin Pugh.
that's probably it. And I've never, honestly, I never heard his actual
Yeah,
first
I've
name
not heard the
is.
pronunciation, but just
Yeah,
looking at it, that's what I'm assuming. I would assume it is.
and for those of us who are wrestling fans, we've only known him as Jay Briscoe, which is
Yeah.
very, very hard to do for your whole career, to never let the kayfabe, you know, out of your name like that. It was amazing. Following the news of Briscoe's death in a car accident at the age of 38, Vic Joseph took a moment to send condolences to the family of Briscoe on Tuesday's NXT. Triple H and Shawn Michaels on Twitter also paid tribute to Briscoe. Uh, Triple H actually said, an incredible performer who created a deep connection with wrestling fans across the globe. My condolences to family and friends of Jay Briscoe. Sean said, on behalf of the NXT community, I would like to express our condolences to the Briscoe family for their loss. AEW and ROH shared the same message on social media. It is with a heavy heart that we mourn the tragic passing, known to wrestling fans around the world as Jay Briscoe. Our thoughts are with his family, his friends, and his fans. Both Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler of FTR shared messages on social media. Dax said, I'm doing okay. Thanks, everyone, for checking on me. I love you, Jay. And Cash said, I've been in tears since I heard the news. I just don't have the words. Rest in peace, Jay. Other promotions paid tribute to the Briscoes, including Impact, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Noah, and Stardom. Impact said, Impact is deeply saddened to learn of the passing of Jay Briscoe. Jay will always be remembered as a trailblazer who, with his brother Mark, left it in the ring every night. We send our sincere condolences to his family, who loved, or who he loved beyond words, as well as his friends and fans. New Japan Pro Wrestling is deeply saddened to learn of the passing of Jay Briscoe. Our thoughts and deepest sympathies go to Jay's family and friends. Pretty much same with Stardom. And then others like Seth Rollins. After I signed with WWE, Jay would come to the Salisbury House shows and drink beer and hoot and holler. He loved the business. He was a great human and friend. Bigger than that, he was absolutely adoring father and husband. And the list goes on, man. We'd be here reading all the longest time. So, Steve, what are your thoughts about what happened this past week?
Honestly, this just goes to show how fragile life is. I think that we get so wrapped up in our day to day that we tend to, I don't know, forget about the things that really matter. And, seeing so many people speak up about how he was a family man and how family was the most important thing to him, that really says a lot about a person's character. Because obviously we see Jay Briscoe, the entertainer, the wrestler, who went out for years and gave everything, blood, sweat, tears, all the cliches. But I mean, he laid it all out on the line every night. You knew that when you were seeing the Briscoes that you were going to get a hell of a match. So as far as the fans go, that's what we know. But to hear his colleagues, the people that he worked for, the people that were behind the curtain say those things about him, that's really telling as to the character of him as a person. And, you know, I went to a string of, WrestleMania shows, and it was always a thing, you know, who were the Briscoes going to fight? You know, and I didn't follow Ring of Honor all that much, but I went to the shows, and instantly the Briscoes were my absolute favorite tag team in Ring of Honor. I was fortunate enough to be in the house on April 5th in 2013 at the Hammerstein when Jay Briscoe won the ROH World Championship over Kevin Steen. And, you know, that was an amazing atmosphere. Number one, to be in a building of that size, but everybody was genuinely happy that Jay Briscoe won the big singles title, because he's always been a tag team guy. But when he won the singles match, the singles championship, that's when you just knew that things would, you know,
Right.
things would be elevated even more. And, you know, he was a great entertainer that stopped at absolutely nothing to ensure that the fans got their money's worth. You could go to a show where the Briscoes were. If it was a big show, you would see the contingent. You would see their entire family. You know, they would basically have an entire row of seating to themselves. And they were all really cool. I did have a chance to interact with them a couple of times. And one of the most genuine meet and greets that I've ever had. And yes, I know meet and greets are typically a, hey, how you doing? Shake your hand, take a picture. But I had a meet and greet with Jay and Mark, and no joke, I was talking to them for a solid, I'd say 7 minutes. And we were just talking about pro wrestling, the business itself, the things that we saw. And, you know, this was the Miami WrestleMania. So that would be WrestleMania 27 was when I had that meet and greet with them. So yeah, it's a huge loss for professional wrestling fans, but also for, you know, people in the industry, most of all his family. You know, his two daughters were injured in the accident as well. Fortunately, one of his daughters who had a bit of paralysis, she has recovered all feeling in all of her extremities. So thank God everything is at least working out on that end. Just a heads up, if you wanted to give back to Jay Briscoe, there is a Give Send Go that's up and running for the Pugh family. And initially they opened it with a goal of $50,000. The goal quickly had to be raised to $200,000 to facilitate the demand. It's currently sitting at $285,000 right now. Most notably, I mean, you've got some donations by Chris Jericho, $15,000, Tyson Smith, Kenny Omega, also donated 5 figures, the Young Bucks. It just goes to show you.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that this guy was a brother to these guys, and just how tight knit of a brotherhood that professional wrestling can be.
Well, and not only a tight knit brotherhood, but here's the thing. The Briscoes are one of the only performers as a tag team or as individuals that never have I heard a bad word.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
Not whatsoever. It's never had an issue with a fan that I've heard of. I mean, very, very good guy by everybody's account. And for this to happen the way that it did, and if you're not familiar with the details, I won't go into the details except to say that he did not cause this accident.
Right.
And that's the true unfortunate thing.
And unfortunately, the the driver who caused the accident, she was only 27 years old.
Yeah.
So not only did you lose someone who, the reason we're talking about this is because he had notable fame in our society.
Correct.
But in reality, you had a family in one
Yeah.
big car. You had a driver, a younger driver, in another big car, and two people who were 38 and 27 died.
Yeah.
And this shit happens
Every
every
day.
fucking day.
Yeah.
So, that's the hardest thing to think about, is that we put out our emotion because of the fact that he is known. And then you step back, and everything we're saying about him being a family man, and the family and the kids being injured, and his wife, and all that stuff applies to just basic people.
Exactly.
And that's all this was. This was a basic person who lived a basic life, just happened to do something that was exposed to the public, but was part of that community. The school district shut down.
Yeah.
That takes a lot, man.
A lot.
So it's something that I think we're all mourning, and hopefully, um, in the end, this becomes something. Honestly, the ROH tag titles, if anything, I would say that this is the opportunity to basically run a memorial tournament to
Yes.
decide new tag champs. And does Mark wrestle anymore? Does he need it? Is his family set? Because if they are, I don't know if I wrestle anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. From that, we're going to go to something that's coming up here on Monday. And if you're listening to it, it was yesterday. So, since this came out on Tuesday, but this comes from SB Nation. WWE names the 30 greatest moments in the history of Raw. In honor of the upcoming 30th anniversary, WWE's latest top 10 is a special looking at the 30 greatest moments in the history of the show. And this author here says, I'm prepared to strongly disagree with this. Let's get it. I don't really want to read the whole list because it's 30 things. But Steve, why don't you start? Just point out a couple things. What, is there anything that sticks out to you as wrong? Is there anything you would put on? What is your take on, essentially what are the 30 greatest moments in the history of Raw?
Sure. So the thing is, this list is obviously, it had to pass through all quality controls of WWE, because there's not a single name on this list that's not with the company. So,
well, no, there is. Jericho's debut. It's on there. It's got to be on there.
So here's just doing a quick Control F. It is not, sir.
Wow. Okay.
So he, a little bit of a correction. He is in the video package that aired, but in this top 30 list, he's not in there. That's a huge one. That was one that I was going to mention, is Jericho's debut. And that's why I frantically looked, because I looked once already, didn't see it. And then you were like, oh yeah, it's in there. No, it's not. Just like how, ironically enough, CM Punk's pipe bomb is not in this list.
Well, that shouldn't be anyway.
Of course not. The Daniel Bryan Yes Movement takeover is nowhere to be mentioned in this list. There are certain things that it blows my mind that they are emphasizing the things that they are. So just to put it into perspective, the top 5 things that are on here. Number 5 is John Cena is drafted to Raw. Number 4, The Rock returns in 2011. 3, Seth Rollins betrays the Shield. 2, Stone Cold stuns Mr. McMahon for the first time. And according to WWE, the best moment in the history of Monday Night Raw, Mick Foley beats The Rock to win the WWE title.
So I'll give that this justification.
It's up there, but is it number one?
This being the reason of thinking, and that is very simple. That broadcast was the one that Bischoff lost the momentum forever for WCW. That fucking, giving away that finish brought all the eyes over, and that historically would be probably in that context, I would say that, but yeah.
Dude, it's unbelievable to me just how much revisionist history the WWE loves to pull. And ironically enough, this whole thing of Vince going away and then Vince coming back, just a curious thing, do you think that we would have seen a little bit of a different list had Vince not returned?
Fucking who knows? Who knows? I don't even know.
I just have to ask the question.
Yeah, like who's creating this content even?
Right.
Who knows? I'm just more stunned that American Bam Bam and I actually fucking agreed on something.
Holy shit.
I'll go with that one. It totally changed the Monday Night Wars.
It did.
That's amazing. No, so when you sent this list over and I started reading it, it starts at number 30. The first thing is Undertaker wins first main event. All right, whatever. It was the first show. Okay. Stone Cold meets Mike Tyson, number 29. Number 28, the Nexus debut. And I'm like, well, fuck that. This list is bullshit.
Pretty much.
The fucking Nexus debut was nothing like Tyson was one of the biggest things ever happened. And they beat us over the head about how big this was.
Honestly, the Mike Tyson thing deserved to be in the top 10.
Yes, absolutely.
For the seismic shift that whole angle played in WWE's history. You fucking kidding me?
Once again, number 21 on this list is DX invades WCW. Number 21. This is something that they in every fucking package they do that is the biggest moments of Raw history. It's the DX invasion. What the fuck?
You know what? You know what had more? What was more consequential to WWE history? Kevin Owens winning the Universal title. That's at number 17. I mean, it's a more notable thing that Kevin Owens won the Universal title on Raw, as opposed to the DX invasion of WCW.
Number 14 is the police arrest Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte Flair. What? Oh my God. I mean, really? Now, like number 11, Bischoff debuts. That was fucking huge.
Yeah.
That might be more than 11.
I'll say this too. Even number 10, Lita winning the women's title in the first women's main event, which just so happened to be on the greatest day of the year during the calendar year, December 6th. It's a pretty awesome day. Anyway, that's huge. Realistically, like in the grand scheme of things,
but
having a women's championship in the main event and crowning a new champion is massive.
No, because you know what's more important than that? Number 9, Roman Reigns beat Sheamus to win the WWE title.
Hey, but even more than that, though, Kane Unmasked, number 8.
Well, at least Kane Unmasked had a story to it, and that could be like a number 26, right? That was a memorable moment because that was a big build-up and a reveal at that time. But what's above that is Dolph Ziggler cashes in Money in the Bank to win world title.
Now, I can say this.
Remember Dolph as the world champion?
I don't remember him as the world champion, but I was at that show. I was seated on the floor, and I'm not afraid to say it. That was one of the loudest crowd reactions that I've ever experienced live.
Great.
The crowd was so hot behind Ziggler, but then they did fuck all after that, and they may as well they did basically just bury the guy gradually from then on. I mean, granted, it's been great for the longevity of his career. He's made a boatload of money, and he's set for life. But at the same time, him as champion, not exactly memorable.
But that moment was not as important as John Cena getting drafted to Raw, which number 5, that there just makes this just a whole. When you start talking about someone getting drafted to a scripted television show being one of the top moments in the television show, American Bam Bam, thank you for bringing this one up, which is great. Is Vince being the higher power on the list? No.
Nope.
It's one of the most memorable. Hey, along those lines, one of the most memorable images in the history, and one they got a lot of shit for, was Austin being crucified. Undertaker's, his logo.
Yeah.
Where's that? I mean, unbelievable. It's so funny how, like the ones you pointed out with the pipe bomb and in the Jericho, and that's like I didn't even I swear I read it right because that was probably the top 5 of the biggest moments in Raw. Period. That was one of the biggest buildups and also one of the greatest exchange of promos.
Yes. Because obviously going in there and cutting a promo against The Rock.
And just to hear The Rock just mention Juventud Guerrero. Still one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen on TV.
Right.
And that's the other thing too. In all these listed, The Rock's return in 2011, which was big, and could be another one that falls, number 29, 28.
Yeah.
There is not another listing of The Rock on this list at all, which is mind-boggling.
That is.
Even John Cena beats Rey Mysterio to win the WWE title is on here, which it's like I don't even remember him beating Mysterio for the title at some point. So, yeah,
and call it what you will. Obviously, in today's landscape, this footage, heaven forbid it ever get rediscovered by people, but the Nation parody by DX.
Yes.
I mean, let's call it what it is. It was a moment. It was definitely press worthy, and people still talk about that shit. Yes. 1, 2, 3 Kid upsetting Razor Ramon is number 26, American Bam Bam.
Right, which obviously should be a little higher on this list, considering some of the crap that's on here. And talking about controversy and talking about things that you wouldn't necessarily do today or show today. There's 2 things that stick out in my mind, or there's 3 stick in my mind right away. There's 4 now. I guess these are the greatest moments of Raw on this list. But honestly, the greatest moments to me are the most memorable moments.
Of course.
Mark Henry discovering that China's friend Sammy was a guy is up there. Mark Henry impregnating Mae Young and her giving birth to a hand. Fucking, to the point where at WrestleMania last year, the hand, when it was in the Johnny Knoxville match, was mentioned as a grown-up hand. Was brilliant. All right. The other 2 things that stick out was the opening to Monday Night Raw, taking off of Monday Night Football and the Desperate Housewives.
Yes.
With Trish and the fucking towel and shit. I think it was Trish. That was just so edgy and controversial.
That was so edgy back then.
Yep. And then
Yeah.
finally, my single greatest favorite moment in the history of pro wrestling, Triple H fucking Katie Vick's dead corpse in the casket.
Katie fucking Vick.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that shit is more memorable than
Right.
John Cena defeating Rey Mysterio. Like, how many times in his career did he defeat Rey Mysterio? You know, it's like, and the titles, by the way, do not mean as much in that sense anymore because everyone's had 19 title runs and, you know, and this and that. So you look at this and you just like, you want to find these moments that you remember and stick out. Listen, again, stuff, and a lot of this comes about by stuff that it's just not stuff that we would accept today. You know, Bischoff bringing out 3 minute wing was a pretty memorable thing. But
From the Billy and Chuck wedding?
well, the Billy and Chuck wedding was SmackDown. That was on SmackDown. But no, the first time that he bought out 3 minute warning, you know, he's there's like, you got 3 minutes, and then they came out.
Yeah.
But along that line, when Bischoff was general manager, he was coming up. They had him doing some good stuff, and the one that kind of is getting forgotten nowadays is Hot Lesbian Action, HLA.
HLA.
Where is that on the list? Come on.
Right.
Oh, man. All right. So that's it for this week, everyone. Steve, before we go, any final thoughts for everyone out there?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the stuff that you guys do. We appreciate each and every one of you. Also, very special shout out and thank you to all the brave men and women serving this country, whether you're doing it on lands foreign or domestic. Thank you for doing what you do so that we can do what we love to do. And last but not least, repsports.com, REPP sports.com. Go there for all your pre-workout, weight loss, and general energy needs. Again, that's repsports.com. Use promo code Vegas at checkout and save yourself 15%.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And until next week, happy wrestling, everybody. Or happy wrestling, everybody.